Hello, brothers and sisters. I call you my brothers and sisters because I truly believe that we are all brothers and sisters in Christ, that God, the Mother and the Father, created us from itself. So I wanted to talk to you about relationship, about the heart chakra, with relationship being its main objective. This is the place where the masculine and the feminine meet. Divine union occurs here at our heart center, and the fruit is born of that union. Every one of us being one. I believe we are one body, mind, spirit, and soul. And we forget who we are in our journey to individuation. We come into this avatar of a body and we forget who we are because we have to go through the stages of our chakras before we become awake to the reality of who we are. And it's like the movie Avatar, when he gets into that body and he has to sync with it. He has to merge properly. Like, there's stuff that has to happen as you do that. And we have to go through all of our chakras and open and move them in order to be awake to that again. And so in our forgetting of who we are, and this happens, I believe the chakras are a reflection of our human evolution, where we exist, our root chakra. We create our sacral chakra. We have will to do our solar plexus chakra. I'm going to let my dog in. And our heart I believe, is the absolute most important of the chakras, because that is the place where the above and the below meet, where all opposition totally becomes blissful peace. And that's what our goal is to achieve. That's what we need to do. So we have to be in our avatar, our body, and we have to remember and go through this process of remembering. But as we are remembering, we cause lots of hurt, because the heart is the unhurt place. Unhurt. And it's unhurt because it's that divine union place, where it's completely merged and happy, peaceful. So when we have merged the above and the below, when the mother and the father are united, that flow that occurs, that beautiful spiral, that helps us to feel whole and happy and blissful. And nothing can hurt us because we see everything as us. But I often think about, so if that's just how it is, then why did we individuate? Like, what is the point of that? And it's because that's how we can grow. That's how we keep evolving. If we stay stagnant, there is no change. So if we want to grow, if God wants to grow in its many forms, as its many forms, it needs to be together as a bunch of individuals that can grow in this realm that we're in. This is the growing one. Time does something here. And So we have to become individuals for that. And that individuality comes with our ego. But this is where original sin happens, where the ego, the individual self, starts to see itself as separate because we are separating. But it's like a mask we put on and forgot to take off. And it made that divider. And so when we can drop that away, then we begin to open ourselves up. We begin to unlock our chakra system. And we can feel our heart, and we can feel what makes our heart hurt and not functioning properly, and how we can feel unhurt there. And that unhurt place is all that matters, because that's where we can relate to each other. That's how we can remember our relationship. Right now, we're witnessing the Ukraine being invaded by Russia. And this is so scary for so many people to feel like war is happening again. But war is always happening. Always happening. There are wars that don't concern us as much because they're less a threat to us, we think. But wars are happening all the time. Big and small. And the small ones add up to so much. So when we have conflict and we don't forgive, then we are not at peace. We are hurt, not unhurt. The action that makes us be able to move, to transform from conflict and hurt to peace and harmony is forgiveness. That's what is in between there. And I have always felt somewhat radical in my belief about forgiveness. And I've been really aware for a long time of that under the term of compassion. And more recently, being last night, I realized that it's the forgiveness that is really the radical thing. And it's a faithful recognition that we are all one. The trust. And we have to be willing to be vulnerable to go there to forgive. So we have these small wars happening all the time that we actually can do something about. We can't think about, well, we can think about it. Most of us don't have the ability to just get on an airplane and fly over to the battlefields that physical wars are happening on and try to fight too and change something. We can't do that, but we have this longing to help. We have these small wars, small conflicts that happen within us where we have different parts of ourself not forgiving parts of ourself. And that causes a lot of hurt. And then we have conflict that occurs between our siblings, the ones that we recognize as siblings physically, genetically. And we have conflict with our family members and our friends. And all these small little wars that we have are creating more and more hurt and blockage to the heart chakra and division between the mother and the father, division of that unity. And then we stay forgetting who we are. So everything is all at the heart center. We have to unlock this place to have heaven on earth. And we're getting there. It's part of our evolution. I wanted to come on and talk about this because I feel like it's the thing that we can actually affect right now. Something that we actually can do to help is to resolve, reconcile these conflicts that are happening within our own psyche, within our own body, and resolve the conflicts between our relatives and our friends. Those small things add up. So if we can all take some serious time, I plan on having a little ceremony later tonight in which I use the help of herbs and meditation to open my heart as much as possible and find forgiveness for every part of me. Anything that has ever felt guilt or shame, I am very seriously vowing to forgive. And I'm going to think about anyone who needs to forgive me. Any friend or being ever that I have caused hurt to. Intentionally or unintentionally, because we chose to come to this place and divide, and we knew there would be suffering with that until we all remember. So that part is the original sin, and that's the sacrifice we made to be many. To have to go through that and wait until we remembered again. So I vow to forgive any being that I have ever caused harm to. I vow to forgive them, and I pray for their forgiveness of me. I want to heal every relationship that I have been a part of. And if we are all one being, one flesh, one body, one spirit, one soul, if we are that, and I believe we are, then us healing our own hurt through forgiveness of self and other, we will raise the whole vibration of the universe, because we are one creation together. And if we can take this time seriously, really, really take the time and the courage to be vulnerable and invest in what you need to open your heart. If we each do that ourselves, I know it will create peace on the planet and in the universe, however far we go. So I am calling you to do this with me and to ask every other person that you can to do it too. And everybody working on their heart chakra is just going to open everybody up to their real self, their authentic version. And when we are that, everybody loves you. It makes it easier to love one another. It's harder to love one another when that person is doing a bunch of harm to people, which can happen when we're out of alignment with that authenticity. Earlier I was talking about being radical, and I think I got on a tangent, but being radical about compassion and forgiveness. I have always felt radical about that, and that's because I never could believe in pure evil. I always believed that evil is a thing that occurs because of our confusion, our illusion, our perceived separation. So evil is a thing that results from that. But I never believed in pure evil, so much to the point that I would argue that we need to have compassion for Satan when I was little. Like, he's the bully, right? And the bully is always hurt. The person hurting is always someone who's really hurt. So I was like, well, how do we heal everything if, when I was growing up, thinking that the devil is the worst, most evil thing, then if we want to heal everybody and have heaven, we have to love him too. So that's kind of a radical take, but Jesus told us to do that. He said to love your neighbor as yourself and love your enemies. He spent his time with the tax collectors and the people who were causing hurt to people because those were the ones who needed the most healing. So I know I sound like a nut when I say that we have to think about the worst and give forgiveness to even that, because that is us too. So in your time of forgiving that I urge you to do with me, in that ceremony where you give forgiveness, so we're all going to confession, right? And we will be absolved. We're going to do that work within ourselves. After you do that, and you think about the world that we're in right now and the major conflicts that are on your mind, think about forgiving the bully, the one doing all the hurt causing that we think. We think they're doing all of the hurt. Give them your light and your love and forgiveness. Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit of my own notes on the heart chakra, just things that have popped up today as I went through some things in my home. And then we'll do some movement together to begin to open our heart chakra. I also have some chamomile tea with rose petals, rose being an herb that the spirit of this herb is healing to the heart. The essence is healing the heart. So I'm sipping on this. I'm calling on the aid of the spirits of the plants that I'm using. There will be other herbs afterward. And I am calling on that for help in having courage to open my heart to that vulnerable place that I need to go to really honestly forgive myself and forgive other people. And forgiving other people, you immediately feel better here, right? Very, very recently, I was angry at one of my friends, my best friend. I was angry at her, and it felt so horrible for me to feel that way. It's over such petty things. And when I can find it in my heart to forgive her, I feel so much better and less hurt. Okay, so I'm going to read you some of my thoughts on the heart chakra. Our heart chakra is about having the courage to share our gifts in relation to others, to recognize our passions and gifts as acts of service to the collective. So it's not easy for me right now to be like, hey, I'm going to make a long video I have no idea how long this has been on. And I'm going to talk to people and assume that anybody is going to listen. This is really hard to do. But I do it all the time, especially when I'm feeling very inspired, because I do believe that I am called to do this. I am meant to share the stuff that I am thinking about. And I am recognizing the beauty in owning that, owning your own gifts and sharing them. But you have to go to that vulnerable spot and drop the ego in order to do it, because otherwise you have self-consciousness and these things that totally stop you from doing what you know you're meant to do all the time. And when that happens, you feel closed off and you feel angry and resentful, and you create all of this hurt in your heart. So don't hide your light, know it and shine it. It is about allowing yourself to be vulnerable. This is when we are most relatable, and relationship is the main objective of this chakra. Be playful and goofy like a child, where you don't really have that self-consciousness so much. That ego has not totally blocked your love of your own light. I wrote, remember, you are safe. Your root chakra is good. You are full of creative energy. Your sacral chakra is good. You are confident and powerful. Solar plexus, good. You can check those off. Your fear and depression and insecurity can all be left at the door. The door to the heart. You got all those done. I wrote, be vulnerable enough to express your real self, the thing that lights you up, so you know it's your light, right? Be the light in the darkness. And have fun here. Like, we're just supposed to have fun, but we're so caught up in these stupid conflicts with each other. I said, belt your heart out. Let's meet in the middle. Belting your heart out. Like, speaking from your heart. That's your truth. Acting from the heart. Your will to do things, those actions, those desires you have, filter them through the heart, and they will be unhurtful. Filter your speech through your heart. Speak from your heart. It will be unhurtful. Those things that we actively do in the world, we act by doing things, and we act by speaking things. And if we filter those two chakras through our heart, it's all good. It's all God when we do that. We remember. We recognize it. We see that in the other when things are coming from that place. And we are magnetized to each other when we see that. Because we remember. We start to remember. And see that light in them, that God in them. Namaste. The light in me sees the light in you. I feel it. I sense it. I'm drawn to it. Okay. Yeah, our fiery power must also flow out through the heart, or it will result in inauthentic action. So our will needs to come from our heart, our wills to do, and as it moves through the heart, it becomes aligned with divine will. So our individual free will gets merged with spirit, and we act from the heart, and we do what we're supposed to, and things are good. Yeah, when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and authentic, we connect with others on a far deeper level. We are all God-made flesh, fruit of the divine union. And then, so those notes are from a long time ago. Last night I was thinking about this a lot because of the fear that arises about when you read about wars happening in the world, right? I said, forgive the unforgivable, teach wild compassion, that radical compassion. Unconditional love for yourself and for others. Help the demons find absolution. Help the dark souls find the light. I wrote down a dream I had like yesterday morning where, I don't know if you've seen Ozark, but I was with Darlene Snell, and she's a very dark character on the show, and I was with her, and I was like, wait, are you gonna kill me right now? And she was like, no, when you die, way later. So I was like, all right, so she's not gonna kill me, cool. And then I proceeded to show her a dark spirit that was in her stairway, and I was trying to convince her that if she could forgive that dark being, then she would be able to be forgiven. So we have to find that we forgive ourselves. We absolve ourselves of our sin. And we do it by forgiving others. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespassed against us. If you're not Christian, then you probably have a prayer that says the same thing somewhere, whatever your religion. And if you have no religion, whatever your own belief system is, there's something somewhere that rings true in that. Forgive them. Whatever we have done can be forgiven, but we have to forgive. We have to forgive every ounce of anything wrong that ever happened to us. We have to forgive and love one another. So, radical love for self and neighbor unconditionally. Love your neighbor as yourself doesn't mean shit if you don't love yourself, right? If I hate parts of me, then I can love you as hard as possible, but it's only ever gonna match how much I love myself, and I won't be able to move past that. The more you love yourself, the more whole and integrated you become. And then you can love others that much and forgive them. Sin is forgetting our God nature. The longer we live in this darkness, the more karmic muck we get into. We are the ones who need to forgive and love one another, to absolve ourselves and one another of sin. In the light of love, we remember our God self. Living in darkness begins with this initial amnesia, original sin. We forget we are God and we can't see or hear our calling. Our God work and our unaligned actions build up our God work. I was saying our we can't see or hear our calling, our God work. So our calling is what we know we're supposed to do for the collective growth of God. And separate from that, our unaligned actions build up, reinforcing the separation from God and clouding our judgment, darkening our way. And that's why Jesus is the light. Whether you believe that Jesus existed and was a real person or not, it really makes no difference. Same thing with the Buddha. The message is the truth. It really doesn't matter if it happened or not. But if Jesus is the light, then shouting from the top of your lungs as your final breath after you've been crucified is the most radical, wild, compassionate thing you can think of. When you're shouting at the top of your lungs, asking for forgiveness for the people who crucified you. Lord, forgive them. They know not what they do. That's talking about all of us. We know not what we do because we're all amnesiatics. We're all forgetting. And the message of Christ is that in your final breath, after you've been tortured, you're asking for forgiveness of those people. I have demons are those weighed down in darkness and karma. And they tempt us to stay in our dark place weighed down by karma. They tempt us to stay in that hell place with shackles. Because that's all they're seeing. They're in that darkness. And so that's what they understand. It doesn't mean that demons aren't God. It's just us. Human is only one expression of this God self. There must exist so many. And any of us that are in that darkness and buildup of all the hurt that we've ever caused and anyone has ever caused us, because we haven't healed it yet, that's evil. That's demonic. That's sinning. It's continuing the separation. So, stay on right paths, shepherd the flock. Follow your light, stay on the path of ultimate forgiveness and brother and sisterhood. Jesus taught us to love one another without judgment, to forgive murderers, and rejoice in the return of the prodigal sons. Having this type of radical compassion is what will unlock our own light and love to shine bright. It will unlock our heart chakra so we can feel peace and togetherness and unity while being in this separate avatar individual expression. So I'm calling everyone, myself first and foremost, to release resentment, anger, conflict with every being, beginning with myself, beginning with yourself. Well, I have been talking for a while. I believe as above, so below. What happens on the gross level affects us on the subtle level, and vice versa. But I truly believe that doing things on the subtle level, that spiritual level, affects things so much more powerfully. So if we can do healing with prayer and meditation, then it can affect our physical body and affect the physical plane. So yeah, that's why we need to do this. That's why we need to do this work together, to forgive and create unhurt hearts in all of us, and it will bring us all closer to that union place where we flow peacefully together. Okay, let's begin to open our hearts. Thought I saw my husband come home. He might be waiting in the car. So I'm like shaking because I'm getting chilly. I haven't stopped to add wood to my fire, and I'm by the door, and it's letting breeze through, so I'm cold. And I recommend to you, before doing your ceremonial work, your reconciliation time, to be warm, have blankets, warm your heart with some cocoa or other plant spirit that can help you to open your heart and soften. Using the breath can always help with that. That connecting the mother and the father, the spirit and the soul, the mind and the body. Connecting them and finding that place of openness. So I recommend being warm, drinking and eating things that are warming to you, things that can help you feel open to being vulnerable, things that give you some courage. What gets you fired up, warm up your heart. Doing some creative art practice can do this. Using the breath, or doing some yoga, asana practice, moving the body consciously moving the body. Any type of conscious body movement would be yoga asana. So I recommend doing those things. Right now, if you haven't joined me already, you can move your heart around in circles and spirals. Lead with the heart. And when you come to settle, you bring your hands to your heart at your center. You can see the left and right sides of your body meeting here. Opposing forces, those opposites that like to attract, and come together at the heart. Breathe your breath to your heart. Draw the shoulders up and back, and breathe Spirit into your heart. Spirit moves things. Breath is spirit. Jesus breathed on the apostles, and they're filled with the Holy Spirit. And when you are filled with this spirit in the heart, you can communicate peacefully. You can understand all the others. Sound familiar? You'll understand all languages. So you can peacefully relate to one another. That's love. Balanced relationship. That's what I'm asking. That's fine. Doing for others as you would have them do to you. Release your hands and bring the shoulders up to the ears. Roll them back and down. And keep this rolling motion happening through the shoulders. Allowing the shoulders to drop down and relax. Opening our heart space. Feel your own body. Sense yourself. This helps to warm our heart. We're supposed to be sensual with one another to warm the other's heart. Make them feel comfortable opening up. Be playful. Be joyful. Be confident. All those things will help the other open their heart to you. Bring your shoulders up. Allow the hands to drift back behind you. And plant the hands. If you're on a cushion, you might need to move it away like me. Plant the hands behind you. And slowly allow the head to drop back. Opening the heart and the throat together. Come up onto your fingertips. If you're not already there, slowly allow the head to rise and drift back up with your spine straight. I'm going to let my puppies in. And then last heart opening pose I'll share with you tonight, because this is just a little bit of suggestions to help you become soft and open for your forgiveness ceremony. I'm laughing a little bit because I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'm so serious, you guys. So you can bring the knees beneath the hips, and we're going to come down into puppy pose. My puppy behind me. Stretch your hands forward. Strong, firm arms. Keep them parallel, and then drop the heart slowly down toward the floor. Emphasizing that we lead from the heart.
we lead our life from the heart. Press through your hands firmly. Slowly walk your hands back up to sit. And simply breathe. Feel peaceful after you've balanced your mind and your body, the masculine and the feminine, the creative and the logical, all those opposing things. You've brought some balance and you feel peaceful. You feel happier. You feel less hurt. So do that. Then take your time and your sincerity to truly forgive yourself and all others. Please share this message with anyone you have the courage to do so.